Ah, settle in, dear listener, as the twilight deepens and the world outside softens into shades of gentle slumber. Let your thoughts drift, much like the faint wisps of smoke from a distant hearth, as we embark on a quiet journey back through the mists of time. We're going to explore a fascinating corner of history, a secret that whispers from the ancient Roman legions, a tale not of grand battles or emperor's decrees, but of something far more intimate and often overlooked, the very sustenance that fueled these mighty warriors. Yes, we shall delve into the secret menu of the Roman warriors, not merely what they ate, but how it shaped their very being, their endurance, their discipline. Imagine, if you will, the soft glow of oil lamps, the distant murmur of a Roman camp settling down for the night, and the comforting aroma of something simple, yet profoundly nourishing, simmering over a low fire. This isn't about lavish feasts or exotic delicacies, but rather the practical, often humble, yet incredibly effective diet that powered the Roman war machine across vast empires. Our journey begins not with a bang, but with a quiet understanding of necessity. The Roman army, a force of unparalleled organization and logistical prowess, understood that an army truly marches on its stomach. A hungry soldier is a weak soldier, a disheartened soldier, a soldier prone to illness and rebellion. Thus, the provisioning of the legions was a task of paramount importance, a finely tuned system that stretched from the fertile fields of Italy to the farthest reaches of their conquered territories. And within this system, a secret menu wasn't about hidden ingredients or clandestine recipes, but rather the underlying principles, the careful choices, and the practical adaptations that ensured these warriors remained robust, resilient, and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. It was a menu dictated by practicality, by the availability of resources, by the need for sustenance that could be easily transported, prepared, and digested, even under the most arduous conditions. Let's first consider the staples, the very bedrock of the Roman warrior's diet. Foremost among these was fermentum, a general term for grain, primarily wheat or barley. Now you might imagine a soldier casually munching on a loaf of artisan bread, but the reality was far more rugged. Often the grain was issued to the soldiers as raw kernels. Think of it, a legionary, perhaps after a long day's march, would have to grind this grain himself. Imagine the rhythmic thud of a hand quern, the coarse grain slowly breaking down into a rough flour, a testament to the sheer effort involved in preparing even the most basic meal. This wasn't a quick trip to the bakery. This was a fundamental part of a soldier's daily routine, a task that underscored the self-sufficiency expected of every man in the legion. The resulting flour, often a mix of whole grains, would then be used to make various forms of bread or porridge. Panis militaris, military bread, was not the soft, airy bread we often enjoy today. It was dense, hard, and unleavened, a flat bread, sometimes baked on hot stones or in portable ovens. This bread was designed for endurance. It was packed with calories and slow-releasing carbohydrates, providing sustained energy for long marches and strenuous labor. It was also, crucially, highly portable and had a long shelf life, essential qualities for an army constantly on the move. Picture a soldier, perhaps sitting by a flickering campfire, breaking off a piece of this tough bread, its texture a far cry from delicate, yet its substance offering true comfort and fuel. But the secret menu wasn't just about the raw ingredients. It was about the ingenuity in their preparation. While panis militaris was fundamental, the Roman soldier also consumed a great deal of Puls. This was a thick porridge, often made from farro, a type of ancient wheat or barley. Puls was incredibly versatile. It could be boiled with water or for a slightly richer flavor with milk if available. Into this basic porridge, a soldier might stir in whatever was at hand, perhaps some vegetables gathered along the march, a few herbs, or a bit of cheese. It was the ultimate comfort food for a weary warrior, warm and easily digestible, providing both hydration and energy. Imagine the aroma of it steaming in a simple metal pot, a truly grounding meal after a day of drills or campaigning. This wasn't culinary extravagance. It was survival elevated to a high art through careful planning and simple, effective methods. Now let's turn our attention to the sources of protein, which were vital for strength and muscle repair. Meat was a part of the Roman warrior's diet, but perhaps not in the quantities or forms we might envision. Fresh meat was a luxury, usually only available when an army was settled in a fixed camp for an extended period or immediately after a successful hunt or raid. More commonly, the protein came in preserved forms. Think of salted pork or beef, dried fish, or even specific types of sausages. These preserved meats were excellent for transport as they wouldn't spoil quickly. A soldier might carry strips of dried meat in his sarsana, his personal pack, gnawing on it during a march to supplement his bread and porridge. The salt content would have been quite high, a necessity for preservation, and would have also helped to replenish electrolytes lost through sweat, though perhaps unknowingly at the time. Beyond these basic proteins, Roman warriors also relied on legumes. Lentils, chickpeas, and beans were incredibly valuable. They were inexpensive, easy to store and transport in dried form, and provided a powerful punch of protein, fiber, and essential nutrients. These could be added to pools, cooked into stews, or simply boiled and eaten as a side dish. The humble legume, therefore, was a silent hero of the Roman diet, underpinning the strength and vitality of the legions without fanfare. Picture a pot simmering over a small fire filled with lentils, perhaps some wild onions or leeks foraged nearby, creating a hearty and sustaining meal. And what about the crucial elements of fats and flavors? Olive oil was a cornerstone of the Roman diet, a source of healthy fats and an essential ingredient for cooking. It was used not just for frying or dressing, but also as a general caloric boost, sometimes even consumed directly. A legionary might drizzle a bit of olive oil over his pools or bread, adding richness and energy. Along with olive oil, garum was ubiquitous. This fermented fish sauce, a pungent, salty condiment, was used to flavor almost everything. Think of it as the Roman equivalent of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce, adding umami and depth to otherwise simple meals. While its smell might be an acquired taste for modern palates, for the Roman warrior, it was a familiar and probably much appreciated way to make monotonous rations more palatable. Imagine the sharp, briny kick it would add to a bland porridge, enlivening the flavors and providing that necessary salt. Vegetables and fruits, while perhaps not always plentiful in standardized rations, were certainly a part of the warrior's diet, especially when foraging was possible or when supplies were readily available from local populations. Cabbage, onions, leeks, garlic, and wild greens would have supplemented their meals, providing vitamins and minerals. Foraging was a common practice, a necessary skill for any legionary. They would learn to identify edible plants, roots, and berries, turning the landscape into an extension of their pantry. This wasn't just about finding extra food. It was about practical self-reliance and maximizing available resources, a crucial component of that secret menu, which wasn't written down but lived in the practices of the soldiers themselves. Fresh water, of course, was paramount, and the Roman army was meticulous in its efforts to secure and maintain clean water sources, understanding that hydration was as critical as food for survival and combat readiness. Now let's consider the context in which this food was consumed. It wasn't just about the ingredients. It was about the routine, the discipline, the communal aspect. Soldiers often ate together, sharing their meager rations, a ritual that fostered camaraderie and reinforced the bonds of the legion. Imagine the quiet clatter of simple wooden bowls and spoons, the shared silence or low murmurs around a small fire, the shared experience of sustenance after a demanding day. These meals, simple as they were moments of respite, moments of rebuilding body and spirit. The Roman army's logistical system was a marvel. Each legionary was expected to carry a significant portion of his own rations, typically 3 days' worth in his sarsana. This heavy load, which also included tools, personal effects, and weapons, trained them for endurance. For longer campaigns, vast supply lines were established, utilizing wagons, beasts of burden, and sometimes even naval transport. Granaries were built in strategic locations, and local populations were often requisitioned to provide supplies. This intricate system meant that even in distant lands, the Roman soldier could, for the most part, rely on a consistent if somewhat unvarying diet. The secret here lies in the unwavering commitment to ensuring that this system functioned, day in and day out, through harsh winters, scorching summers, and challenging terrain. But what about the special circumstances, the deviations from the norm that truly reveal the adaptability of the Roman warrior's menu? During sieges, for example, when supplies were cut off, innovation became key. Soldiers would become incredibly resourceful, consuming whatever they could find, roots, leaves, even leather if desperate enough. Conversely, after a victorious campaign or when stationed in a particularly fertile region, the diet might expand to include local specialties, fresh game, or more varied produce. These fluctuations, while not part of the standard secret menu, highlight the flexibility and resilience of the Roman logistical and individual soldiers' ability to adapt. Let's delve a little deeper into the role of specific energy sources. The prominence of grains, particularly wheat and barley, in the Roman diet provides a clear insight into their understanding of sustained energy. These complex carbohydrates release glucose slowly into the bloodstream, preventing energy crashes and ensuring a steady supply of fuel for both physical exertion and mental alertness. While they wouldn't have understood the biochemistry, the practical outcome was clear. A diet rich in these grains produced soldiers capable of incredible feats of endurance, whether marching 20 miles a day in full armor or engaging in prolonged combat. This understanding, built through centuries of experience, was perhaps the most profound secret of their nutritional approach. Consider also the role of fermented products beyond garum. Wine, often diluted with water, was a common beverage. It not only provided a safe source of hydration in areas where water quality might be questionable, the alcohol content acted as a sterilizer to some extent, and the fermentation process itself helped, but also offered a caloric boost and a familiar comfort. Sour wine, or pasca, a mixture of vinegar and water, was particularly popular among soldiers. It was refreshing, helped combat thirst, and its acidity likely had some antimicrobial properties. It was a simple yet ingenious solution to the perennial problem of hydration and electrolyte replenishment in the field. The subtle tang of pasca, perhaps after a long, dusty march, would have been a truly invigorating sensation. The Roman warrior's menu was also surprisingly egalitarian. While officers might have access to slightly better cuts of meat or more varied fare, the basic rations were much the same for all ranks. This fostered a sense of shared hardship and common purpose, reinforcing the idea that everyone, from the lowliest legionary to the centurion, was part of the same fighting unit, facing the same challenges and drawing strength from the same fundamental sustenance. This wasn't about status symbols on the plate, it was about functional nourishment for all. One might also ponder the long-term health implications of such a diet. While certainly robust and effective for endurance, it might have lacked certain micronutrients depending on the specific availability of fruits and vegetables. However, the sheer physical activity of a Roman soldier would have meant a high caloric expenditure, requiring a consistent intake of energy-dense foods. The simplicity and repetitive nature of the diet, while perhaps monotonous, also meant fewer opportunities for foodborne illnesses, a constant threat in ancient times, especially in crowded military camps. Their bodies, honed by constant training and marching, would have efficiently utilized every calorie and nutrient available. Let's consider an example of a typical day's secret menu for a Roman warrior. Dawn breaks, perhaps with a quick light meal of hardtack like bread and water, or a spoonful of cold Puls left over from the night before, just enough to fuel the initial tasks of the day. Then the march begins. Hours later, a brief halt might allow for a handful of dried figs or olives, a piece of dried meat, and some water or pasca from their personal waterskin. The main meal, if possible, would often be consumed in the late afternoon or early evening, after the day's primary work or marching was done. This would be a more substantial affair, perhaps a steaming bowl of Puls enriched with lentils, a piece of military bread dipped in olive oil, and some garum for flavor. If luck was on their side, a small portion of salted pork or some foraged greens might supplement the meal. This wasn't about elaborate courses, it was about efficiency and replenishment. The adaptability of the Roman soldiers' diet also extended to their understanding of what could be made from very little. For instance, sometimes a soldier might receive rations of hard cheese, which provided protein, fat, and calcium. This cheese, probably a hard, aged variety, would have been incredibly durable and portable. Imagine a soldier carefully slicing a piece of this cheese to accompany his bread, a small luxury in an otherwise austere culinary landscape. Eggs, when available from local farms or foraged from wild birds, would have also been a welcome, if infrequent, source of protein. The secret menu also included an understanding of the relationship between food and morale. While the primary goal was sustenance, the occasional treat or a slightly better meal could do wonders for the spirits of the troops. A successful campaign might be celebrated with a more varied feast, or a general might distribute extra wine. These moments, while not part of the daily grind, were strategic inclusions in the overall welfare of the soldiers, a recognition that mental fortitude was as important as physical strength. Our understanding of this diet comes from a variety of sources: ancient texts that describe army logistics, archaeological finds of food remains in Roman camps, and even depictions in art. Each piece of evidence paints a consistent picture of a diet that was robust, practical, and incredibly effective for maintaining a large, active army over long periods and vast distances. It was a menu born of necessity, refined by experience, and executed with an astonishing level of logistical precision. The consistency of their diet, despite the varied landscapes and climates they traversed, is a testament to the ingenuity of Roman military planners. Imagine the sheer scale of provisioning a legion of around 5,000 men, not to mention auxiliary troops and camp followers, for months or even years on campaign. The daily caloric intake for a Roman soldier, given their strenuous physical activity, would have been significantly higher than that of an average civilian. Estimates often place it between 3,000 and 6,000 calories per day, depending on the level of activity. This massive caloric requirement underscores why energy-dense, portable, and easily storable foods like grains, dried legumes, and preserved meats were so central to their secret menu. The very act of preparing food in a Roman camp also fostered a unique culture. Soldiers would often share cooking duties, and specialized camp followers or slaves might assist in larger-scale preparation. Portable ovens, often made from clay or stone, would be constructed at temporary camps to bake bread. Fires would be carefully managed, and the resources for cooking fuel, wood, or dried dung would need to be sourced. This entire ecosystem around food preparation was an integral part of military life, teaching self-reliance, teamwork, and resourcefulness. It wasn't just about eating, it was about the collective effort to sustain the unit. Let's gently pivot now to consider the broader philosophical implications of this secret menu. It speaks to the Roman values of discipline, moderation, and practicality. There was little room for indulgence or excess in the daily life of a legionary. Their diet reflected a stoic approach to living, focusing on what was necessary and functional rather than what was luxurious. This ethos permeated all aspects of their military culture, and their food was no exception. It cultivated resilience, a body and mind accustomed to doing with what was available, and a spirit that wasn't easily broken by hardship. The simple, repetitive nature of their diet, far from being a weakness, was a source of strength, building uniformity and resilience in the ranks. Even the way they consumed their food spoke volumes. Eating quickly and efficiently, perhaps without much ceremony, was often the norm. There were no elaborate dining tables or delicate cutlery for the average soldier on campaign. A simple wooden bowl, a spoon, and their hands would suffice. This minimalist approach further reinforced the idea that food was fuel, a means to an end, rather than an end in itself. Yet within this practicality, there was also a profound connection to the land and its bounty, albeit through the lens of military necessity. Consider the role of salt, not just for preservation, but as a vital nutrient. In a world before refrigeration, salt was indispensable. Its importance is even reflected in the word salary, derived from the Latin salarium, which was payment given to soldiers, sometimes in the form of salt. This highlights its value and its crucial role in the warrior's diet, replenishing electrolytes and aiding in the digestion and absorption of nutrients. It was a subtle yet powerful element of their secret menu. As we drift further into the quiet contemplation of these ancient meals, imagine the sheer variety of situations in which this diet was tested. From the frozen plains of Britannia to the scorching deserts of North Africa, from the dense forests of Germania to the sun-drenched hills of Judea, the Roman warrior's diet had to be adaptable, robust, and universally applicable. The core principles remained the same: grains, legumes, preserved meats, olive oil, and garum, supplemented by whatever local provisions could be acquired. This consistency in the face of such diverse environments is a testament to its effectiveness. The logistics of providing beverages were also carefully considered. While wine and pasca were common, ensuring access to fresh, potable water was a constant challenge. Roman engineers were masters of aqueducts and water management, building impressive infrastructure to supply their cities and, crucially, their military camps with clean water. A soldier's waterskin, or utriculus, was an essential piece of equipment, ensuring personal hydration on the march. The ability to carry and purify water was as much a part of the secret menu as the food itself. Perhaps one of the most intriguing aspects of this military diet is how it contrasts with the popular image of Roman excess and luxury. While the wealthy elites of Rome indulged in elaborate banquets, the backbone of the empire, its legions, lived a life of disciplined austerity. This stark contrast highlights the functional and purpose-driven nature of the warrior's menu. It was not about pleasure, but about power, endurance, and the capacity to conquer and maintain an empire. It was a diet of necessity, honed to perfection. Even the humble turnip or radish, if available, could offer a welcome crunch and some fresh vitamins to a diet often dominated by soft porridges and dense bread. These small additions, though perhaps not consistently supplied, were eagerly consumed when the opportunity arose. It emphasizes the opportunistic nature of supplementing their core rations. The secret menu was not rigidly fixed but intelligently flexible, adapting to the landscape and the demands of the campaign. Let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer physical transformation that this diet, combined with rigorous training, wrought upon a Roman recruit. From a raw civilian, often accustomed to a less demanding diet, they would be molded into a lean, strong, incredibly enduring fighting machine. Their bodies would become furnaces, efficiently burning the complex carbohydrates of their grain-based diet, their muscles fueled by the proteins, their systems fortified by the basic vitamins and minerals available. This physical conditioning, inextricably linked to their diet, was a key component of their military supremacy. The psychological impact of food, even simple food, should not be underestimated. A warm meal after a cold, wet day on campaign could be a profound source of comfort and a morale booster. The shared act of eating, the brief respite it offered, helped to forge bonds and maintain spirits in the face of adversity. This communal aspect of the secret menu was perhaps as important as the nutritional content itself. It fostered a sense of belonging and shared purpose, vital for military cohesion. As our quiet contemplation draws to a close, let's reflect on the enduring legacy of this secret menu. It wasn't about exotic spices or rare ingredients. It was about fundamental nutritional principles, logistical genius, and an unwavering commitment to the physical well-being of the troops. It was a diet built on resilience, practicality, and the understanding that true strength comes from consistent, humble nourishment. The Roman warrior's menu, though simple, was a powerful testament to their discipline and their enduring legacy. It whispers to us across the centuries, a tale of sustenance, endurance, and the silent strength that forged an empire. And so, as the night deepens, let these thoughts gently guide you towards a restful slumber, knowing a little more about the quiet power of ancient sustenance. Very well, let us continue our quiet journey, allowing the narrative to flow onward, like a gentle stream through ancient landscapes. We left off contemplating the profound simplicity and effectiveness of the Roman warrior's diet, a testament to their logistical prowess and their deep understanding of what truly fueled an empire. Let's delve a little deeper into the nuances, the subtle variations, and the hidden strengths of this secret menu, allowing the details to unfurl slowly, like the petals of a night-blooming flower. Imagine, if you will, the early morning chill in a Roman camp. The first faint light begins to pierce the darkness, and the scent of wood smoke already hangs in the air. Soldiers stir, preparing for another day of rigorous training or a long, arduous march. Their first meal, often a simple affair, might consist of panis militaris, that dense, hard military bread, perhaps moistened with a little water or pasca, the vinegar water drink, to make it more palatable. It wasn't a lavish breakfast spread, but it provided immediate, sustained energy, the kind that slowly releases, allowing a warrior to tackle hours of physical exertion without feeling a sudden crash. This strategic packing of energy intake, inherent in their reliance on complex carbohydrates, was a subtle but critical component of their nutritional wisdom. Consider the role of hydration beyond just water. While pure water was always sought after, the legionaries also regularly consumed pasca. This refreshing, slightly acidic drink was more than just a thirst quencher. The vinegar acetum component had mild antiseptic properties, which would have been invaluable in preventing waterborne diseases, a constant threat in ancient times. Moreover, the acetic acid in vinegar aids in digestion and can help with mineral absorption, silently contributing to the overall health of the soldiers. It also contained electrolytes, lost through sweat during their intense physical activity. So what might seem like a simple, almost austere beverage was, in fact, a carefully chosen element that contributed significantly to the warrior's resilience and well-being. The tartness would have been invigorating, a sharp contrast to the often bland staple foods. And what about the use of herbs and spices? While not as varied as modern cuisine, Roman soldiers would have utilized readily available herbs for both flavor and medicinal properties. Wild garlic, thyme, savory, and mint could be foraged or cultivated in camp gardens, adding not just taste but also essential vitamins and potentially immune-boosting compounds. Imagine a handful of wild thyme stirred into a simmering pot of Puls, its aromatic essence transforming a basic meal into something slightly more comforting and flavorful. These small, often overlooked additions were part of the unwritten, secret menu, passed down through practical experience. Let us also consider the occasional indulgences, though indulgence, in a military context, often meant something very different from civilian life. On rare occasions, perhaps after a significant victory or during a period of rest in a well-provisioned camp, a soldier might have access to fresh vegetables from a local market or even a small portion of freshly cooked meat. These moments, though infrequent, would have provided a much-needed boost to morale and a welcome change from the staple diet. They served as a reminder of the rewards of their arduous service, even if those rewards were simply a few extra radishes or a piece of roasted fowl. The logistics of transporting and storing food for such a vast army necessitated a deep understanding of food preservation. Beyond salting meat, they utilized drying techniques for fruits and vegetables, and fermentation for wine and garum. These methods, while ancient, were incredibly effective at extending the shelf life of provisions, ensuring that food remained edible and nutritious even after weeks or months on the road. The reliance on these techniques meant that even far from their supply bases, the soldiers had access to sustenance, albeit often in a concentrated or processed form. This ingenuity in preservation was a cornerstone of their secret menu, not just what they ate, but how they kept it fit to eat. Think about the sheer physical effort involved in preparing these meals. Grinding grain by hand, building temporary ovens, foraging for fuel, hauling water. Every meal was a testament to the soldiers' self-reliance and physical endurance. This labor was not seen as a chore to be avoided, but as an integral part of military life, teaching discipline and reinforcing the value of every morsel. The taste of a hard-earned meal, prepared with one's own hands, would have been imbued with a special satisfaction. The uniformity of the Roman diet, while perhaps seeming monotonous to modern sensibilities, played a crucial role in maintaining health and discipline. A consistent, predictable diet meant fewer digestive upsets, easier management of rations, and a shared experience across the legions. This wasn't about culinary exploration. It was about functional efficiency and minimizing variables that could compromise the army's effectiveness. The secret menu was, in essence, a standardized operating procedure for nourishment. Consider the role of animal products beyond just meat. Cheese, as mentioned, was valuable, but perhaps even animal fat, rendered from slaughtered beasts or provided as part of rations, would have been used for cooking or simply spread on bread for extra calories. This efficient use of every part of an animal underscores the practicality of their approach. Nothing was wasted. Every potential source of energy and nutrition was utilized. The Romans also had a pragmatic approach to fasting, not necessarily for religious reasons in a military context, but often out of necessity. During particularly intense campaigns or when supplies ran dangerously low, soldiers might go for extended periods on very meager rations or even fast. Their bodies, accustomed to physical hardship and a relatively lean diet, were likely more resilient to such deprivations than those accustomed to a richer, more varied fare. This ability to endure hunger was another secret weapon, built into the warrior's physique and mental fortitude. The seasonal variations also influenced the soldiers' diet, even within the constraints of their staple rations. In warmer months, fresh produce like figs, grapes, and various greens would have been more readily available through foraging or local acquisition. In colder months, the reliance on dried and preserved foods would have been even greater. This adaptation to the natural cycles of agriculture and the environment was an implicit part of their dietary strategy, ensuring they capitalized on seasonal abundance when possible and relied on reserves when necessary. Let's not forget the importance of dental health. A diet primarily of hard bread and coarse grains would have put significant stress on their teeth. While dental hygiene in ancient times was rudimentary, the constant chewing would have kept their jaws strong. And yet, dental issues would have been a significant concern, undoubtedly leading to pain and reduced eating efficiency for some. This is a subtle reminder of the harsh realities underlying the efficiency of their diet. The absence of sugar, as we know it today, is another striking feature. While honey was available, it was likely a rare treat for soldiers. Their palates would have been accustomed to savory, salty, and sometimes sour flavors, rather than the pervasive sweetness of modern diets. This would have contributed to better overall health, avoiding the myriad problems associated with excessive sugar consumption. Their energy came from complex carbohydrates, not refined sugars. The secret menu also extended to the types of cooking equipment they carried. Each soldier might have a small cooking pot patera and a mess tin, situla, along with a basic set of utensils. The ability to cook individually or in small groups meant greater flexibility and less reliance on centralized camp kitchens, especially when on the march. This personal responsibility for meal preparation reinforced the self-sufficient ethos of the Roman legionary. Imagine the quiet clatter of these simple metal tools, the rhythmic stirring of porridge, the small flames licking at the bottom of a pot. Even the animal companions of the army, the pack animals and cavalry horses, had their own secret menu of sorts, albeit one composed primarily of grain and fodder. Their health and sustenance were just as critical to the army's mobility and effectiveness as that of the soldiers themselves. This holistic approach to provisioning, encompassing both man and beast, speaks to the sophisticated understanding of logistical needs within the Roman military. The act of eating was rarely a leisurely affair on campaign. Meals were often consumed quickly, sometimes while standing or sitting on the ground, always with an awareness of the surrounding environment. This utilitarian approach to dining further underscores the functional nature of the Roman warrior's diet. It was fuel for the body, not an occasion for elaborate social ritual, though social bonds were indeed forged around the shared experience of sustenance. Let's consider the concept of food as medicine. While formal medicine was developing, Roman soldiers would have intuitively understood that certain foods helped with certain ailments. A broth made from wild greens might be given to a sick soldier, or certain herbs might be used to aid digestion. This traditional knowledge, passed down through generations and refined by military experience, was an informal but vital part of their approach to health and sustenance, an unwritten chapter in their secret menu. The consistency and stability of their core diet also helped to mitigate the risk of food poisoning or adverse reactions that could arise from consuming unfamiliar local foods. By relying on a limited, familiar set of staples, they reduced digestive distress and maintained a predictable level of physical performance. This focus on consistency was a silent guardian of their health on campaign. Think of the sheer energy required to construct the vast network of roads, fortifications, and bridges that characterized the Roman Empire. This immense labor force, often composed of legionaries in between campaigns, was fueled by precisely this secret menu of dense grains, legumes, and preserved provisions. The empire wasn't just built by strength and ingenuity, but by the steady, consistent supply of fuel to its builders and defenders. The secret menu was not just about what was in the food, but also about the caloric density and the macronutrient balance. Their reliance on grains provided abundant complex carbohydrates for endurance. Legumes and preserved meats offered essential proteins for muscle repair and growth. Olive oil supplied healthy fats and concentrated calories. This basic, yet effective, balance ensured that the soldiers had the energy and building blocks required for their demanding lifestyle. And as the long nights drew in and the winds whispered through the camp, the comfort of a warm meal would have been profound. A bowl of hot Puls, perhaps flavored with a touch of garlic and a dash of garum, would offer not just physical warmth, but also a moment of psychological respite. These simple pleasures, magnified by the hardships of military life, were vital for maintaining morale and endurance. The absence of refined sugar and highly processed foods also meant that Roman warriors likely experienced fewer instances of certain modern ailments, such as type 2 diabetes and widespread dental caries, which are often linked to Western diets. While their life expectancy was often cut short by warfare and disease, their diet itself was remarkably robust and functional for the demands placed upon their bodies. The practicality extended to methods of cooking. Often, food would be boiled or baked in portable ovens. Frying was less common, mainly due to the need to conserve fuel and the logistical challenges of carrying large quantities of cooking oil. This emphasis on simpler, more fuel-efficient cooking methods was another clever adaptation built into the operational realities of a marching army. Let's imagine a veteran legionary, hardened by years of campaigning, teaching a new recruit the ropes. Part of that instruction would undoubtedly include how to manage his rations, how to prepare his pools, how to forage safely, and how to make his limited provisions last. This transfer of practical culinary knowledge was an unwritten chapter of the secret menu, passed from one generation of warriors to the next, ensuring the continued resilience of the legions. The secret menu of the Roman warriors was thus a sophisticated system, not through complexity, but through profound simplicity, efficiency, and adaptability. It was a diet engineered for endurance, for strength, for discipline, and for the sustained power needed to forge and maintain an empire. It speaks volumes about the Roman genius for organization and their unwavering focus on what truly worked. And as our thoughts slowly quiet, and the world outside prepares for a gentle dawn, let us carry this understanding of humble strength and ancient sustenance into our restful peace. Then let us continue, allowing the gentle current of our narrative to carry us further into the twilight of history, exploring even more subtle facets of the Roman warriors' secret menu. Our journey through the Roman legion's dietary practices is an unfolding tapestry, revealing not just what they ate, but the very essence of their disciplined existence. As the soft glow of our imaginary oil lamp illuminates more details, we find that the genius lay in the everyday, the practical, the often unspoken rules that governed their sustenance. Consider the discipline inherent in portion control. Rations were carefully measured and distributed, and a soldier was expected to make his allocation last. This wasn't about gluttony, it was about survival and fairness. A legionary who consumed his rations too quickly would find himself hungry, and hunger could compromise his effectiveness and morale. This daily management of food taught self-control and foresight, qualities essential for a warrior. It instilled a deep respect for every crumb, every drop, a lesson in conservation that resonated throughout their lives. This disciplined approach to eating was a silent component of their training, building mental fortitude alongside physical strength. The Roman army also understood the importance of satiety, the feeling of fullness. While their meals might not have been gourmet, they were designed to be filling and energy-dense. The high fiber content of whole grains and legumes, combined with fats from olive oil and preserved meats, would have ensured that soldiers felt satisfied, even if the flavors were simple. This physical contentment, even in a demanding environment, was crucial for maintaining a positive mindset and preventing the distracting pangs of hunger during arduous tasks. A full stomach, even if it contained simple fare, was a powerful psychological tool. Let's delve into the agricultural backbone that supported this vast dietary system. The Roman Empire was fundamentally an agrarian society, and its military's diet reflected this. The conquest of new territories often involved seizing fertile lands for grain production, ensuring a steady supply for the legions. The concept of military grain, frumentum publicum, was central to their economy and their ability to project power. This reliance on locally grown or easily transported agricultural staples underscores the symbiotic relationship between the Roman military and the land it controlled. The secret menu was, in many ways, an extension of the Roman agricultural system itself. The types of grain preferred also varied slightly based on region and availability. While wheat, especially durum wheat for bread and spelt for Puls, was dominant in Italy and warmer climates, barley was often more resilient in cooler, harsher northern regions, and was also a staple for animal feed. The adaptability to use different grains based on local conditions was another practical element of their provisioning strategy, ensuring that the fundamental caloric needs could always be met. A Roman warrior might eat wheat bread one month and barley porridge the next, a testament to the practical flexibility built into the system. Even the humble water source had its own hierarchy of importance. While rivers and springs were primary, the Romans were masters of digging wells and cisterns, and even collecting rainwater in camps. Ensuring a safe and consistent water supply was an engineering feat in itself, often undertaken by the legions. Without reliable water, even the most perfect secret menu of food would be rendered useless. Thus, the provision of water was inextricably linked to the provision of food, two essential pillars of military health. Consider the social aspect of shared food. While individual rations were maintained, soldiers often pooled resources to cook together, forming small messes or contubernia, groups of 8 men who shared a tent. This communal cooking fostered a sense of family and mutual support within the harsh military environment. The sharing of a warm meal, perhaps with stories of the day or quiet camaraderie, transformed a purely functional act into a moment of human connection. The secret menu thus nourished not only the body but also the spirit of community. The Roman soldiers' diet also influenced their physical stature and appearance. While we imagine them as robust and muscular, their diet, being relatively low in animal protein compared to modern diets, might have resulted in a leaner, more sinewy physique, perfectly adapted for endurance and agility rather than sheer bulk. This particular body type, shaped by diet and constant exercise, would have been highly functional for marching long distances in heavy armor and engaging in close-quarters combat. Let's think about the role of specific legumes. Chickpeas, known as cicer, were incredibly valuable. They could be roasted and eaten as a snack, added to pools, or ground into flour for specific types of bread. Lentils, or lens, were another protein powerhouse, easily digestible and versatile. These humble legumes were dietary workhorses, providing dense nutrition in a compact, storable form. They represent the quiet strength of the secret menu, often overlooked but fundamentally crucial. The Roman military diet also had a psychological element of endurance training. Being accustomed to simple, often repetitive meals, and knowing how to make those meals last, developed a mental resilience. It taught soldiers to value substance over luxury, to be content with sufficiency rather than always craving more. This mental conditioning was as vital as their physical training, allowing them to withstand the privations of long campaigns and sieges. Even the leftovers had their purpose. Nothing was truly wasted. Scraps of bread might be saved for flavoring stews or drying further. Any edible parts of plants or animals, even those we might consider undesirable today, would have been utilized. This ingrained habit of frugality and resourcefulness was a key part of the Roman warrior's lifestyle and an unwritten rule of their secret menu. The importance of the centurion in maintaining this dietary regime cannot be overstated. Centurions were responsible not just for leading their men in battle, but for their welfare, including the proper distribution and consumption of rations. A good centurion would ensure his men were fed and healthy, understanding that a well-fed legion was a strong and effective one. This chain of command, from the highest general to the individual soldier, was critical in the successful implementation of their dietary strategies. As we continue our gentle exploration, consider the impact of their diet on their digestive systems. A diet rich in fiber from whole grains and legumes would have promoted healthy digestion and regular bowel movements, preventing common camp ailments like constipation, which could significantly incapacitate a soldier. While they wouldn't have understood the science, the practical benefits of such a diet would have been evident through experience. The Roman reliance on simple, natural ingredients also meant a diet largely free from artificial additives or preservatives, beyond basic methods like salting. This inherent cleanliness of their diet, while not a conscious health choice by modern standards, contributed to overall robustness. Their bodies were processing unadulterated foodstuffs, leading to efficient nutrient absorption. Let's imagine the sounds of a Roman camp kitchen area in the evening. The crackling of fires, the bubbling of pots, the rhythmic grinding of grain, the low hum of conversation. These everyday sounds were the symphony of sustenance, a backdrop to the warrior's life, inextricably linked to their secret menu. The preparation of food was a vital, communal activity that brought a sense of normalcy and routine amidst the chaos of military life. Even the practice of harvesting wild edibles or foraging was a learned skill. Identifying safe and nutritious plants, knowing where to find them and how to prepare them, was a subtle but important part of a legionary's knowledge base. This localized dietary knowledge, passed down through experience, allowed soldiers to supplement their rations effectively and adapt to different environments. This resourcefulness was a powerful, unwritten supplement to the official menu. The long-term effects of this diet on the average Roman warrior would have been bodies hardened by constant physical exertion and fueled by a consistent, energy-rich diet. They would have been lean, strong, and incredibly resilient to both physical and mental stress. Their secret menu was not just about calories, but about building an entire physiological and psychological profile suitable for empire building. As our narrative gently winds its way, let us reflect on the profound efficiency of this ancient military diet. It was a masterpiece of logistics, nutrition, and discipline, tailored perfectly to the arduous demands of Roman military life. It wasn't about culinary flair or gastronomic pleasure, but about raw, unadulterated functional power. The secret menu of the Roman warriors was a testament to their practicality, their ingenuity, and their unwavering determination to conquer and endure. And as the quiet contemplation settles upon you, may these insights into ancient sustenance bring a sense of gentle understanding and peaceful rest. Then let us continue, allowing the quiet narrative to flow onward, like a deep, ancient river, carving its path through the landscape of history. We are still immersed in the fascinating world of the Roman warriors' secret menu, uncovering layers of practicality, discipline, and sheer ingenuity that underpin the most formidable military machine of its age. As the moments drift by, let us explore further into the often unseen corners of their dietary life, revealing how these everyday choices shaped their extraordinary capabilities. One aspect that truly speaks to the efficiency of their diet is the concept of nutrient density relative to bulk. Grains like farro and barley, and legumes such as lentils and chickpeas, are incredibly nutrient-dense. They provide a high concentration of calories, protein, and essential minerals in a relatively small, dry, and easily transportable volume. This was critical for an army constantly on the move, where every ounce carried mattered. The secret menu prioritized maximum nutritional impact with minimum logistical burden. Imagine the careful calculations, even if informal, that went into selecting such efficient foodstuffs. Consider the role of hunger itself as a disciplinary tool. While the Romans certainly aimed to feed their soldiers adequately, they also understood that a certain level of controlled deprivation could build mental toughness. Soldiers were taught to endure discomfort, including hunger, a skill that would be invaluable during sieges or when supply lines were disrupted. This wasn't about starvation, but about cultivating a resilience to adversity, an implicit part of their training regimen and their relationship with food. The use of vinegar, not just in pasta but also as a condiment or preservative, reveals a deeper understanding of food science, even if empirical rather than theoretical. Vinegar's acidity could tenderize tough meats, help preserve vegetables, and add a sharp, cleansing flavor to rich or heavy dishes. It was a multi-purpose ingredient, cheap and readily available, another quiet hero of the secret menu. Its presence helped to diversify the sensory experience of their meals, preventing complete flavor monotony. Let's also reflect on the Roman soldiers' incredible capacity for building and infrastructure. Whether constructing roads, bridges, fortifications, or entire camps, these feats required immense sustained energy. Their diet, rich in slow-release carbohydrates and adequate protein, provided precisely this fuel. The empire was not just conquered by swords and spears, but also by shovels, hammers, and the unflagging strength fueled by bowls of pools and slabs of military bread. The secret menu was the engine of Roman engineering prowess. The psychological impact of eating together, the shared experience of a meal after a long day, should not be underestimated. It fostered a deep sense of camaraderie and belonging within the contubernium. In a world where individual survival was often precarious, the shared meal was a powerful affirmation of collective strength and mutual support. It transformed simple sustenance into a social ritual bonding men who faced life-or-death situations together. This communal aspect of the secret menu was as nourishing for the soul as it was for the body. Think of the variety, or rather the deliberate lack thereof, in the basic diet. While perhaps boring by modern standards, this consistency would have eliminated the digestive upsets that can arise from constantly changing diets or consuming unfamiliar foods. It created a predictable internal environment, allowing soldiers' bodies to function optimally with minimal disruption. This unwavering uniformity was a subtle but profound strategy for maintaining peak physical condition. The practice of fermenting grain to make bread or pools also had nutritional benefits. Fermentation breaks down antinutrients present in grains, making minerals like iron and zinc more bioavailable. It also predigests some complex carbohydrates, making the food easier to digest. While the Romans wouldn't have understood the biochemistry, they instinctively utilized these beneficial processes, another secret passed down through generations of empirical culinary knowledge. Even the animal fats and oils, when available, were critical for adding warmth and concentrated energy during cold campaigns. A bit of rendered fat stirred into porridge or spread on bread would have provided a powerful caloric punch, essential for keeping bodies warm and energetic in chilly climates. This efficient use of all available resources was a hallmark of their practical dietary approach. The Roman military's relationship with foraging was also complex and nuanced. While individual foraging for supplementary items was tolerated and even encouraged, large-scale requisitioning of food from conquered or occupied territories was a systematic practice. This ability to live off the land, both individually and collectively, was integral to their mobility and sustainability on campaign. It meant the secret menu could expand beyond the supplied rations, drawing on the bounty or scarcity of the local environment. Consider the sheer mental fortitude required to sustain such a demanding physical regimen on a relatively simple and repetitive diet. It speaks to an incredible level of self-discipline and an unwavering focus on duty. The Roman warrior's diet was not just about physical fuel, but also about cultivating a mindset of austerity and perseverance, qualities that defined their martial character. The careful packing of rations into a soldier's sarcina also implied a precise understanding of space and weight. Hardtack, dried meat, and whole grains are compact and lightweight relative to their caloric value. This logistical efficiency in personal provisioning ensured that soldiers could carry enough sustenance for several days without being unduly burdened, a vital consideration for an army that marched tirelessly. The very act of boiling water for pools or other cooked dishes, even if not fully understood scientifically, would have contributed to reducing waterborne pathogens. Heating water to a simmer for an extended period, especially for porridge, would effectively sanitize it, a crucial public health measure in a time before modern sanitation. This implicit hygiene was an uncelebrated but essential part of their dietary practices. Let's reflect on the minimal waste generated by their diet. Every part of the animal was used, every grain was cherished, and even water was carefully managed. This contrasts sharply with modern food consumption patterns. The Roman warriors' secret menu was a testament to a culture of extreme resourcefulness and efficiency, born out of necessity and reinforced by military discipline. The Roman soldiers' diet also contributed to their legendary physical hardiness. Accustomed to a diet free of highly processed foods and sugars, their bodies were likely more robust and less prone to certain chronic ailments. While life on campaign was fraught with dangers, their fundamental diet provided a strong base for resilience against disease and injury, allowing them to recover more effectively. The absence of highly processed fats and sugars meant a focus on wholesome, natural ingredients. While limited in variety, these ingredients provided dense, foundational nutrition. This inherent wholesomeness of their diet, dictated by the available technology and agricultural practices, was a silent contributor to their legendary strength and endurance. Imagine the satisfaction derived from a simple, warm meal after a day of strenuous activity, marching, digging, training, or fighting. That profound sense of physical and psychological replenishment would have been a powerful reward, reinforcing the positive association with their plain but effective rations. The secret menu wasn't just food, it was a promise of renewed strength. The Roman army also had auxiliary troops from various conquered regions, who often brought their own dietary traditions. While the core rations might have been standardized, these auxiliaries likely supplemented their meals with familiar local foods when possible, adding a subtle layer of diversity to the broader military diet. This adaptability in absorbing different culinary traditions, while maintaining a core structure, speaks to the practical genius of the Roman system. The knowledge of edible wild plants and berries, passed down through generations, would have been particularly valuable in sparsely populated or newly conquered regions. A soldier's ability to identify safe and nutritious foraging options could literally be a matter of life or death, supplementing dwindling rations or providing essential vitamins in an emergency. This intimate connection with the natural world was an unwritten chapter in their survival guide. The very concept of a secret menu implies an understanding of optimal performance. The Romans, through centuries of trial and error, discovered what combination of foods allowed their soldiers to march further, fight harder, and recover quicker. This empirical knowledge, refined through generations of military experience, was the true secret of their dietary prowess. It was a menu designed not for pleasure, but for conquest. And so, as the final embers of our story softly glow, let us reflect on the enduring power of simplicity and necessity. The secret menu of the Roman warriors was a profound testament to their discipline, their ingenuity, and their unwavering commitment to creating a force of unparalleled endurance. It was a diet of fundamental strength, a silent force that helped them forge and maintain an empire. May this quiet understanding bring a peaceful end to our shared journey into the past, and a serene entry into your dreams. Let us continue, our narrative flowing ever onward, like the ceaseless march of the legions themselves, uncovering yet more layers of insight into the Roman warriors' secret menu. As we delve deeper into this quiet contemplation, we discover that the wisdom of their diet was not just in the ingredients, but in the entire ecosystem of procurement, preparation, and consumption that defined their military existence. Consider the role of specific fats. While olive oil was paramount, animal fats, such as lard from pork or rendered suet, would have been utilized when available. These fats provided concentrated energy, crucial for sustaining soldiers in cold climates or during periods of extreme exertion. They could be used for cooking, spread on bread, or simply consumed for a quick caloric boost. This efficient utilization of all available fat sources underscored their practical approach to nutrition. The importance of dental health, while not explicitly part of their menu, was implicitly affected by it. A diet high in coarse grains and hard bread would have kept teeth and jaws strong, but also prone to wear and tear. Without modern dentistry, severe toothache or tooth loss would have been a significant debilitating factor for a soldier. This highlights the inherent hardships of their existence, where even eating could become a challenge due to physical ailments. Let's also reflect on the Roman concept of bread and circuses, panem et circenses. While this phrase often refers to the pacification of the civilian populace, the military equivalent was a guaranteed, if simple, supply of food and the promise of glory. For the soldier, panis militaris was the foundation, a non-negotiable part of their daily existence, ensuring their strength for the circus of battle. This fundamental provision was a contract between the state and its soldiers. The practice of campaigning in different seasons also demanded dietary flexibility. In spring and summer, when fresh produce might be more abundant, the diet could be supplemented with seasonal greens, fruits, and perhaps even fish from local rivers or lakes. In autumn, the focus might shift to harvesting and preserving for the leaner winter months. The secret menu was thus dynamic, adapting to the natural rhythm of the year and the resources of the environment. The discipline of eating cold meals was also a reality. On the march, or when discretion was required, there might be no opportunity to light a fire. Soldiers would have to consume their hard bread, dried meat, and cold pools without complaint. This further reinforced their mental fortitude and adaptability, proving that sustenance was paramount, even if comfort was absent. This ability to eat whatever was available whenever it was available was a crucial survival skill. Think of the contrast between the warrior's diet and that of a Roman civilian, even a poor one. While both might rely on grains, the warrior's diet was specifically designed for performance, emphasizing caloric density, portability, and long shelf life. Civilian diets might have more immediate access to fresh produce from local gardens or markets, but often lack the consistent protein and fat intake needed for sustained military activity. The secret menu was a specialized regimen for a specialized role. The Roman military also understood the importance of rest and recovery, and food played a vital role here too. A nourishing meal after a period of intense activity allowed the body to repair and rebuild, preparing for the next challenge. This interplay between exertion, sustenance, and recovery was a finely tuned cycle that maintained the legion's extraordinary endurance. The diet was not just about fueling activity, but also about facilitating recuperation. Let's consider the psychological effect of familiar food. Even if simple, the consistency of panis militaris and Puls would have provided a sense of stability and normalcy in a frequently chaotic and dangerous environment. Familiarity in food can be deeply comforting, a small anchor in a sea of uncertainty. This subtle psychological benefit was an unquantifiable but powerful aspect of their secret menu. The storage of grain itself was a massive undertaking. Roman granaries, horia, were marvels of engineering, designed to keep vast quantities of grain dry, pest-free, and cool for extended periods. This intricate system of storage was as vital to the secret menu as the food itself, ensuring that provisions were available when and where they were needed, often for years on end. The role of wine, even diluted, also extended beyond mere hydration. It had a social function, contributing to camaraderie and relaxation during evening meals. A shared cup of wine, even a sour one, could ease the tension of the day and foster bonds among soldiers. It was a small but significant part of their daily routine, providing both physical and emotional sustenance. The Roman legionaries' body was a temple of efficiency, meticulously trained and fueled. Their diet, combined with constant physical activity, would have resulted in incredibly low body fat percentages, promoting agility and endurance. This lean, resilient physique was the direct outcome of their secret menu and their demanding lifestyle. The understanding of food safety, though rudimentary, was also present. They knew to avoid spoiled meat or stagnant water. While lacking scientific understanding of bacteria, they learned through experience what was safe and what was dangerous to consume, a practical form of risk management that was vital for military health. This empirical wisdom was a crucial, unwritten chapter in their dietary guide. The simplicity of their cooking methods also meant less time spent on preparation and more time available for military duties or rest. Boiling and baking were efficient, requiring minimal equipment and supervision. This focus on culinary efficiency was another hallmark of their pragmatic approach to wartime sustenance. As our quiet contemplation draws to a close for now, let us once again marvel at the profound wisdom embedded in the Roman warrior's secret menu. It was a diet born of necessity, refined by experience, and executed with unparalleled logistical brilliance. It was a menu for resilience, for power, for discipline, and for the enduring strength that carved an empire across continents. It whispers to us across the centuries, a testament to the enduring human capacity for organization and survival. May these thoughts gently guide you towards a peaceful slumber, imbued with the quiet strength of ancient wisdom. Then let us continue, allowing the quiet narrative to flow onward, like the slow, steady advance of a Roman legion across a vast landscape, each step revealing a new detail in the tapestry of their existence. We are still immersed in the fascinating realm of the Roman warriors' secret menu, exploring the subtle interplay of food, discipline, and endurance that define their formidable power. As our journey through history continues, let us uncover yet more of these unspoken principles that shaped their unique dietary regimen. Consider the raw, unadulterated nature of their primary foodstuffs. Whole grains, unprocessed legumes, and minimally processed meats formed the bulk of their diet. This meant that soldiers were consuming a vast array of naturally occurring vitamins, minerals, and fiber that are often stripped away in modern, highly refined foods. This inherent nutritional richness, even in a simple diet, contributed significantly to their overall health and vitality, forming a silent strength within their bodies. It was a diet of robust, fundamental building blocks. The practical application of dietary knowledge often came through sheer necessity. For instance, the understanding that certain plants could be used to treat scurvy, a debilitating disease caused by vitamin C deficiency, likely evolved through generations of trial and error. While not always consistently available, knowledge of wild greens or fruits rich in vitamin C would have been invaluable during long campaigns, acting as an informal but crucial dietary supplement. This empirical medical dietary knowledge was another unwritten part of their secret menu. Let's think about the cultural impact of their diet. The emphasis on shared meals, even simple ones, reinforced the concept of comitatus, the bond of comradeship that was so vital to Roman military cohesion. Eating together wasn't just about nutrition. It was about forging a collective identity, strengthening the ties that bound soldiers together in the face of danger. This communal aspect elevated their humble sustenance into a powerful social glue. The Roman army also employed a system of rewards and punishments that could sometimes involve food. A soldier who performed well might receive extra rations or a special allowance. Conversely, a soldier who transgressed might face dietary punishments, such as being denied wine or being given only barley instead of wheat. This demonstrated how deeply food was integrated into the disciplinary structure of the legions, a powerful motivator and deterrent. The logistics of providing consistent food supplies for thousands of soldiers across diverse and often hostile territories was an unprecedented feat in the ancient world. It required meticulous planning, extensive infrastructure, and constant adaptation. From the fields where the grain was grown to the granaries where it was stored, and finally to the soldier's mess tin, the secret menu was a testament to the immense organizational capacity of the Roman state. Even the humble water supply had its own intricate system of provision and purification. While not technically food, access to clean, potable water was arguably the most critical element of the warrior's diet. Roman engineers were masters of diverting rivers, digging wells, and building aqueducts, all to ensure that their legions, whether in camp or on campaign, had access to this fundamental necessity. Their understanding of water's importance was as advanced as their understanding of solid rations. Consider the role of olive oil beyond just cooking and calories. It was also used as a topical balm, a cleanser for the body, and even as lamp fuel. Its versatility meant that every drop was valuable, a multi-purpose resource in the Spartan environment of a military camp. Its presence in the diet provided essential healthy fats, contributing to overall well-being and energy levels. The secret menu also included the concept of adaptability to local resources. While their staples were consistent, Roman forces were adept at utilizing local flora and fauna when on campaign. This might involve hunting wild game, fishing in rivers, or purchasing produce from local markets in conquered territories. This flexible approach prevented over-reliance on distant supply lines and allowed for some dietary variation, especially in rich agricultural areas. The psychological resilience cultivated by a consistent, no-frills diet was immense. Soldiers learned to be content with what was provided, to not crave luxuries, and to focus their mental energy on their duties. This dietary stoicism was a deliberate part of their training, shaping warriors who were not easily broken by discomfort or deprivation. It was a powerful tool for forging mental toughness. The sheer scale of food consumption by the Roman army is astounding. Imagine the continuous flow of grain, legumes, and preserved meats required to sustain hundreds of thousands of men over centuries. This constant demand for sustenance drove agricultural innovation, trade routes, and the very expansion of the empire itself. The secret menu was not merely a list of foods, it was a fundamental driver of Roman imperial power. Even the simple act of foraging, while sometimes a supplement, could also be a source of danger, exposing soldiers to enemy patrols or unfamiliar terrain. This risk assessment was part of the unspoken rules of the secret menu, highlighting the precarious balance between seeking additional sustenance and maintaining military security. The Roman warrior's diet, being largely plant-based with supplementary protein, was probably quite efficient from an ecological perspective, especially when compared to modern meat-heavy diets. While they certainly consumed meat when available, the reliance on grains and legumes meant that vast numbers of people could be sustained with less environmental impact than a predominantly carnivorous diet. This ecological efficiency was an unintentional but profound aspect of their military diet. The preparation of pools or other gruels required persistent stirring, a simple but demanding task that often fell to the junior soldiers. This shared labor in food preparation further reinforced the hierarchy and discipline of the military unit, demonstrating that every task, no matter how humble, contributed to the collective well-being. The secret menu was interwoven with the daily rituals of camp life. As our quiet contemplation of this ancient wisdom deepens, let us appreciate the profound simplicity and functionality of the Roman warrior's diet. It was a menu designed not for indulgence, but for endurance, not for variety, but for reliability, not for fleeting pleasure, but for lasting power. It was the silent engine that drove the Roman legions, allowing them to march further, fight longer, and build an empire that shaped the course of history. May these insights into ancient sustenance bring a sense of gentle understanding and peaceful rest.